through people with titles: apostle, prophetess, manager, vice president, bishop, missionary, churchgoer, mother, father. Yeah. Father, bring not thy children to wrath. So, this is something that you need to pay attention to. I'm hearing from God's voice. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm not listening to yours. And you know you're out there. And I'm letting you know I'm not listening to your voice. In Psalms 37, 3 and 4, trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and enjoy safe pasture. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. See, we must trust in the Lord. Now, if you look at that one, verse 3 says, trust in the Lord. Verse 5 says, commit thy way unto the Lord. And verse 7 says, rest in the Lord. Trust, commit, and rest. And that's a 357. That will shoot any lie that is tied to any of those titles or those leaderships, those fake prophets and prophetess and all that stuff. That's your 357. What are you doing? I ain't doing nothing. I'm trusting in the Lord. What do you mean? Well, how about this? I'm trusting in the Lord. Well, you got to do something else. I'm committing my way unto the Lord. Well, nothing's going to materialize that. Okay, great. I'm resting in the Lord. Pow. That's what you do. See, listen, let me tell you something. I'm just trying to talk to you tonight. You know, I don't have much of a voice. Tried to drink some tea a little bit, but I just wanted to share this. And I think this makes good sense for someone out there. In Psalms 119, verse 105, he says, your word is what a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. The word of God. That's why it's important that I'm hearing God's voice and not yours. I'm in relationship and fellowship with him. And that's just my position. Now, you don't have to like it. You don't have to like me. Guess what? I don't have any problem with you not liking me. And you shouldn't have any problem with anybody not liking you. It just makes us different. It ain't no big deal to me. Listen, let me tell you something. After I had me a cup of tea or Gatorade and some and a couple bowl of fruit, you see what I'm saying? I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I'm not sitting up there dealing with foolishness and confusion over. How can you bring confusion over a God thing? That means that what? I mean, God thing and this confusion, it's not God. It's not God. Abraham, you go here. Lot, you take this part. What side you want? Because we ain't working together. Proverbs 2:1, starting at let's start at verse 1. Proverbs 2. I'm going to start at verse 1. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commandments within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for the understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. Yehovah, Adonai. I want God's wisdom. I want God's knowledge. And if you're saying anything to me opposite of that, I mean, I'm not doing that. Why? Because my whole purpose for me right now is to be absent from the body and be present with the Lord. I'm trying to get to heaven, man. I'm trying to find God, man. I'm just trying to serve God, man. Listen, let me tell you something. I ain't running after no prosperity. If I wanted to be out there and sell books, if I wanted to be out there and get one of those books and take appointments and all that stuff and go all across the world preaching, doing revivals, apostolic prophetic release and all that stuff. Listen, I could do that. There's nothing to it. You got, listen, the populace, the majority of them are fake anyway. You know, the majority of them are fake anyway, and you still giving them your money. You paying for scriptures, you paying for revelations that they call a book. You paying for DVDs that they record. You paying for CDs. You paying for all that stuff that they say is God that's supposed to make you feel better. And I thought Jehovah was free. Now I know it ain't popular. You go right ahead and do what you say. Well, how do you pay the bills? How was the church established in times past? Why not go back to that? But you got all these fancy things now. You know, everything's an expense, you know. Well, we got to pay this money to pay for the radio station. We got to pay this money to pay for the TV slot. We got to pay this and we got to pay that. You know, and the thing about silly people, the reason why most of them are false prophets and teachers is because, look, they just need an audience and need to be heard. Ain't no truth and substance in it. And that's why you find yourself going out of those places. You find something out about these people and you're getting hurt because you believed in them. And then you come boo-hooing to somebody else because you wouldn't believe that was just a fault, that you were going to a false prophet. And then you got the nerve, just like some of the prophets that have been doing these YouTubes and all this stuff. They tell you that they missed it and all this crazy stuff. And then they even give you a scripture. I seen one person was talking about, you know, and talked about Samuel. So they go back and pull stuff out. Well, this person missed it. And you're supposed to be, actually, you're supposed to be that naive to just to listen. They take the word and words that they always do and use them out of context. They out of context. They don't know how to just stop and just say, guess what? I messed up. And go quietly to a corner and stay there until God does what he needs to do in you. See, pride comes before a fall, and all that is just pride. And a lot of it is just straight out, you just straight out crooks. Because all you doing is playing on people. Listen, let me tell you something. I'm going to tell you straight up, I wouldn't give you one red cent. I'm telling you, I wouldn't treat you I wouldn't buy you a meal at Checkers. No, hold it. My son said Boston, I think it's Boston. It's either Boston Chicken or Boston Market, whatever that chicken place is. I wouldn't even buy a meal there. See, I wouldn't waste my time on foolishness. Everything right now is important, and it is very imperative that you are listening to me and know that you must hear God's voice and not the others. I'm a grown man at 52. You look like a fool telling me that God said that I'm supposed to marry this person. I'm supposed to talk to that person. That you already know, if they knew anything about my life, you know that person is off and you know they're lying. And you know that they're in their flesh. You tell me how to do this business deal. A field that I've been in over 30 years. And I'm sitting up here saying to myself, so you mean to tell me God has to send somebody to tell me how to do that when God has already anointed me in that capacity? That's how he's prospered me. He didn't prosper me by going out here and taking money from poor people at churches or rich people, whatever you want to call them. He didn't do that for me, but he showed me finance. He showed me how to understand and leverage portfolios, anything on S&P and Moody, whether it be options, bonds, treasury bills, standby letter credits, MTNs, mutual funds, options. Yeah. Non-taxable event. He showed me how to do all that. He showed me how to monetize financial instruments in the private industry, hedging and all that kind of stuff. Mortgages, Libra loans, stated, no doc loans, conventional, non-conventional, all that. So I don't, but that's what he showed me how to do. He didn't show me how to go out here and sit up there with a microphone and bleed people for 30 minutes trying to get an offering, which is to pay your bills. You want to know why he didn't? Because I asked God from a young lad over 30 years ago. I said, God, I pray that my business would always fund the ministry. Now, I had to be in my 20s. And that was my prayer to God. And you know what? He's honored that. So I can't listen to anything that's different than that. If God's going to change it, he knows that I'm stubborn enough. He's going to change it and tell me, he's going to tell me specifically. Other than that, I ain't doing it. Proverbs 20, starting in verse 27. The human spirit is the lamp. Now, this is powerful. The human spirit is the lamp of the Lord that sheds light on one's inmost being. Love and faithfulness keep a king safe. Through love, his throne is made secure. The glory of a young man is their strength. Gray hair, the splendor of the old. Blows and wounds scrub away evil, and beating purge the inmost being. You just got to tell the truth. You have to tell people to tell the truth. You have to realize when you're walking in the truth. And you can't go another way. You can talk to me till you blue. I'm not going to be persuaded to become a Muslim. I'm not going to be persuaded to become a Muslim. Why? Because, that's just not for me. I'm going to give you this last text. Well, 2 more texts. I'm almost finished. I thank you for listening, and I pray that this was a blessing to you. I just thought it was imperative that I talk to you as the Lord gave it to me. I'm hearing God's voice and not yours. We started off Tuesday about mixed signals because people are trying to. It's important that you hear God's voice and understand it. My sheep hear my voice. See, so when you start asking people to speak, and if you don't hear God, and you know that they don't come like God, and they don't represent anything of the God that you know, then you cancel that mess out. And eventually they'll get tired of talking to you. Oh, they'll get tired. You'll see what happens. In Matthew 16, starting in verse 16, chapter 16, starting verse 16. Now, I'm doing this to kind of tie this up so that you understand. Now, I've been talking a lot about I'm hearing God's voice and not yours. So what I want you to understand is there are some of you out there that are people that may be in leadership. There's some of you out there that are you're in front of a lot of people, but you have to realize even you, even me in this state, if we're not focused, we can come in our flesh. And you don't want to give anybody that. And when you do come in your flesh, that's when you're supposed to get this that I'm saying today. I'm hearing God's voice, not yours. You've been silenced. You're rebuked. I rebuke you. Thou speakest the things that not be of God, but you speak the things of men. You're giving me your opinion, your flesh, which is nothing but a bunch of mess. All you got to do is take a good look in the mirror before or after you put on makeup. And you'll see what you see in the mirror is what I hear when you speak. What you see in the mirror is what people hear when you speak. That's it. The only one that will flatter you or say anything is because they have they want to use you until they have no use for you. But people that love you will speak to you about you because they do have use for you. Why? Because we're all part of the kingdom. Let's look at this. Just to show you a spin on it. Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." And Jesus replied, "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this was not revealed to you by flesh and blood." And see, we talking about flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it, or the gates of hell will not overcome it. So now here, Jesus answers a question, and Simon asks a question to the disciples. Simon answers it, and Jesus replies to his answer